transportation modes and whatever, I'm going to segue into the East Bay days when Carl and Sharon and I were 10 to 15 years old. And then I'm going to segue to the last half of it, to our relationship with the Shaw Point people. We never called it Shaw Point, we always called it The Point, but we got more sophisticated, I guess, once the Lakeshore got in. But I'm going to point out that a lot of the buildings and things that I'm showing you are now gone. East Bay is, and I'll show a map of what it was and what it is, and it's I don't want to say devastating, because a lot of the stuff should have been removed. It was old and decrepit and what have you. Kind of like me, and more so Carl. You know, things age and probably should be put down. You'll get the last word, believe me. I'm not here to sell books. I've sold an awful lot of them. They're kind of simple books, you know, maybe for 12-year-olds, but there are a lot of older people who enjoy them too. This is David Moody's son, by the way, Dr. Moody's son. Okay, but I'm not here to sell books. Okay, what gave me the inspiration to do this, and along with Carl and Sharon, but more me, is that when we gave our talk in 2009, Mary Rice was sitting over in here. It was literally out here this way in those days when we gave talks. But she shouted out when we were doing something silly, "When are you going to do the teenage years?" And so this is kind of a tribute to Mary, because this is going to be, we're going to segue into that last part of it is going to be those teenage years that Mary wanted us to talk about back then. But when I told her back then, there are children and ladies in the crowd, and you know, we may not want to talk about that too much. But I claim that it didn't have to be much cleaned up back in those days. People weren't like today. But okay, let's move on. It's going to be the three parts. One's going to be the old transportation, and this is one of my favorite photographs, and it's a horrible quality. You know, you can see all the wrinkles and that kind of thing in there. But this is in what we call the old green skiff, and I'll show you a picture of the old green skiff. And in this photograph is Harold Dahl, who's our first cousin, and all of these relationships are going to come out here, so you're going to be tested later. That's me running the boat, because in those days I was more mechanical than Carl, and so I had to do all the hard work. And that's Carl sitting there grinning like a Cheshire cat. I think her name is Janet.
Janice Wick.
Janice Wick, a friend of Mary's, and this is Mary. She was probably 13 maybe at that time, 13, 14. Let's see if I can learn how to run this thing. Whoops. Can't go backwards when you're at the front. Here we are right here at Bayfield. This is Sand Island. This is Rocky Island. I'm going to mention Rocky briefly simply because there are some Rocky Island people here. Our cousin Jimmy Edwards is in the crowd, and we've been playing with him for 80, well, I'm not that old, but relatively playing with him for 85 years. And of course, Bobby Nelson he's a Rocky Island guy too. So Rocky, Sand, and Bayfield. That's the big triangle. And Carl and I have talked about this, and Sharon too. If you learn nothing else from this talk, one thing I want to take you to take home with you. Talk to your siblings, talk to your elders, talk to your uncles, aunts, grandmothers, the old man who lives next door, or whatever, and get their personal history. Every one of us has something that is interesting that has happened in our lives, and it just gets lost when we move on. Write it down, just even if it's for your own use. But that's one thing, and I'll mention it again at the end too. talk to people who have experiences different than you. And one thing, and this is from an old Ted Lasso episode, it says, be curious, not judgmental. And he attributes it to Whitman. Well, Whitman actually didn't say that, but it's attributed to him anyway. But in the Ted Lasso episode, he did attribute it to Walt Whitman. But anyway, be curious, not judgmental. Okay, Carl, you can't put aside any of that stuff yet.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm not through yet. And I want to point out, my age, I'm 29 days younger than President Biden. He was born on November 20th, and I was born on December 19th of the same year. I didn't know that until I was putting this together, because I saw him at the debate and thought, ooh, boy. Is that what I look like?
That explains a lot.
And also, this story, these stories are going to be from a personal point of view. It's going to be from a, oh, don't get mad at me. It's going to be from a he-him point of view, not from a she-her point of view. If you want to get the she-her point of view, you're going to have to talk to Sharon or Phoebe Harris. Where are you, Phoebe? Phoebe Harris back there. The four of us were on the island at the same time as teenagers. But it's a Blackbird now, but her name was Harris, which was a Yench. But we go way back. But anyway, this is the he-him history. Boy, that's hard to say. The he-him history of East Bay and Shopway. Okay, so now that we know where we are, okay, I mentioned that there was a lot of stuff. This is East Bay. You see all of these names. These are homes, families, people who live there. There's us. We're the CO Dahls. We're right in the middle of East Bay. And down here is Shaw Point, which we have the Yenches, the Andersons, and the Yenches, Andersons, and the Hewlett's. Amazingly enough, those three families are still there. In East Bay, you'll see when I'm done, we'll end up with two houses, that one and this one. All the rest of it is gone. And once again, I'm in the park. There were other park people. The park superintendent now, Lynn, is fantastic. She is really a good superintendent. Okay. Now that everybody's still awake. When they turn out the lights out. Okay. Transportation around. This, I threw this in for the Rocky Island people. This boat is from Rocky Island. I attributed that they're on Sand Island because they came over there a lot. But Bobby Nelson pointed out that this may be on South Twin. It doesn't make any difference. But the Northland, this boat was built by his grandfather, by his grandfather. This was built by Ole Edwards. And he built the boat every 2 years or something like that. He built a lot of boats around here. But this is one of them. And I just thought it kind of tied both islands together because Ole Edwards married Jenny Hansen, who is our grandmother's sister. So, you know, we're related fairly distantly, and sometimes when Jimmy does something crazy, we say we don't even know him. You know, but Jimmy's a great guy. Despite what Carl and Sharon said. Okay. This is one of my favorite pictures. Can you hear Dorothy? It's in that bigger room. You can hear all right? Yeah. And the mic is maybe superfluous. Will you pick up on your recording? Okay. This is somebody else's teenage years. This is our mother. This is our aunt. That's our grandmother. And that's another aunt. What they were doing, and they're all on skis. All of our family was born way up north of the Arctic Circle. And, skiing was natural Bayfield. This was before there were any skis in Bayfield. And, but they were on their way, and notice the one pole? That's how they did it, not this. And they're on the way to school. They had to go across 3 miles of ice, maybe one of the Halversons, Deanie's Halverson, I don't know where Deanie is, but Deanie's here. His great-grandfather probably would pick them up and take them into town, and they would board in town to go to school. But I just thought it was, it's kind of different than what it is now, don't you think? You know, the kids don't even want to walk across the street because they'd be tripping over their cell phones. Anyway, I just thought it would be this background stuff is the old Pete Hansen stuff back here, who's our great grandfather.
What year is that?
This would be in the teens, maybe early 20s. Because my mother got married in 1930, so it would be before that. Okay, moving on. This is attributed to Norway, the 2 beautiful horses. And Carl, once again, doubted me and said that they thought these were Bird Hills horses. You still say that? Okay, moving on. It's like this when we're sitting around having gin and tonics too, so this is nothing new. But this is Bird is Hill, and probably is Bill. I think Bill was the oldest one. But this is up on their farm, is in the background. But I'd see that and I think, yeah, I'd go back to those days. It would be nice. You know, all the stuff we got now is nice, but somehow simple is better. Then the politicians got the idea to build the East Bay Road. And, God, I was going to point out something else. But here's the scan. In my mind, it said, here's 3 politicians, you know, walking down there saying, you know, well, we finally satisfied these Sand Island locals. You know, we built the road. But this is back, way back. This is in the early 1900s. And this has always been called the East Bay Road, even when it's a trail more narrow than that aisle there. It always was the East Bay Road. Okay. These are cars that were on Sand Island. And I was going to point out, and I didn't, I failed to, but there was a road in there. If you drove your car on every road on Sand Island, in one day, down and back, you put 4 miles on your car. The East Bay Road was about 1.5 miles. Then there was a spur that went up to Lori's house, and a spur that went up to T-Doll's house, and that was it. I don't know why they had what good was a car out there. But this one, and there was another car out there, the Jordan, which was, I think the Inches had it, didn't it? Was that the Inches car?
I don't think anybody really knew where it came from. It's a shed that was between Anderson's and Hewlett's.
Yeah, it was there when we were kids, and we'd go in there and play. I'm not little kids, I was 15, but play like I was driving. This picture here is interesting, and that is actually Gert Willich. This is in St. Paul, and she had this roadster. That's a dog there. It's hard to see in this picture, but this will come up again. I'm afraid it may not be the same car, but there's one of these abandoned on Sand Island. This car here had the caption on it. This is from the Norway collection. Had a caption on it that said, Dahl's, the first car on Sand Island. Bob, have any? Yeah, well, it's hard to argue. Yeah, whatever we say is the truth. I wouldn't lie to you. We're old friends. And this is Norway's. I think in looking at this, that car and that car are the same car. I just think they are. They probably Dahl in the Norwegian. It just looks like it. See, you look at that back wheel, you look at that front wheel, it looks an awful lot like So maybe the same car. That's why I brought it up. Those of you who have been on Sand Island, these two cars are abandoned down in East Bay, and this was Gertz, and this was Norns. But this is not the same car as that other one. You know, I studied because I looked at it. The other one didn't have this circle around the side glass. I won't tell you how these holes got in it. Carl, if you wish to know. It's quite later.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he has a very convenient memory. The older he gets, the more convenient it is.
You did?
Okay. This picture has three things in it that somebody cast alive would not see. They'd say, okay, it's a Dorothea, which is Fred Hanson's mother's name. But in this picture is, just mentioned Jack Hanson, my mother, and my grandmother. But the reason this is important, one is it's about transportation. This is at the Hanson Dock. This guy's name was Victor Dahl. There were 3 Dahl families in East Bay, of which at its peak probably didn't have 100 people. There were 3 Dahls, 3 people named Dahl, none of them related. Which is really, I mean, Dahl is, even in town there is the contractor who's the Dahl, but and then there's us. Okay. And then the third part of that is this little tyke in here. No, that's not me. That's my brother Fred. He starts what I'm calling the grandchild generation. He actually was a great-grandchild, but in order to tie it into the Shaw Point, Mary would be a grandchild of Fred, and Piggy would be a grandchild of Daisy, and this kind of thing. So the grandchild generation. But that's little Freddie right there. This would be 1932, 33, something like that. Okay. I want to put this in because I love the picture. This is Fred. I thought he was about 12, but I've been pointed out by my siblings that he was probably 9 or 10 at the time. But our people, this is what they're playing with. If you don't have this, you're nothing in this world. Well, he did what he knew. He built this. I call it Dahl-esque. I don't play with words. His name was Dahl, but Dahl-esque net reel. A little bit cockeyed, I'd say, but he built that. He built this thing as a preteen, and it just is. It's so crude, it's fun. You know, it really is. It's fun. And then I went and looked up what this was because it's so prominent in the pictures. This Margate, and it is a company from India, and they sold canned peaches. Here it is on Sand Island, out in the middle of nowhere, and we thought it was the middle of nowhere when we lived there. It's not just because it is, it's the westernmost major island. And here it is from India, coming together, you know, all those 5,000 miles away. But it was just a fun factoid that I found. Plus, it was Fred who
Wow, it occurs to me, look at that little boy, the bat and the ball. There's no ball field. There's nobody to throw the ball to. There's nowhere to bat it. You have to throw it up yourself and just bat.
Yeah.
And our fathers who were fishermen and whatnot, my father never threw me a baseball in my lifetime. You know, it just was something that they didn't do. They were up at 5 o'clock in the morning out fishing, and they just, they were reeling nets, drying nets, cleaning nets, and so on. Just didn't have any time for that. We never thought of it as, we never thought of ourselves as deprived or whatever, but I just look at him there and I think, yeah, there he sits, and with stuff he can't really use in the sense that a town kid would have been able to, you know.
But he would have been traveling to town for school in fact.
Yeah, he could have taken his stuff.
The kids boarded in school on the island, and Fred, he was 7 years old when our older sister was born, so he had 7 years without us, so he had several years in town. And then when my sister Connie became of age, 6, 7 years old, then we all moved to town. But until then, we lived on the island year round. But he's right, there was The major village, nobody to throw it to. You know, there were no little girls or little boys. You know, he was the only one for many years. Okay, I mentioned the green skip earlier, and this is a more recent picture, but I got it because it's got a good shot of the green skip, which is now rotting on your beach. You probably don't even know what's there. It's not a big deal, by the way. It's like the park destroying every building. Not a big deal. Yeah, it's normal. Okay, but this is the green skip. We had this skip for probably 30 years. And this yokel here, that's Carl. But this is a dock that our dad and an older brother and Uncle Mel helped a little bit, built by hand. Yeah.
Is that the Moe place in the background?
Moe's is right here.
Yeah.
That's their actual house that they lived in. That's the house that the loggers lived in. That's the blacksmith shop. And I don't know if we'll mention any of that stuff, maybe. But Carl primarily, but Carl and I built this shed on our dock. And you're going to see that because I'm controlling the thing. But anyway, that's the green skip. And in my books, I write about it and talk about the green skip. People, what are you talking about? And why is it green, Sharon?
Because I painted it. No.
Yeah.
I like green.
That's one day she painted it with house paint. You know, it doesn't go
No,
well.
it was marine paint that Dad got from,
Yeah, you just made that up.
see what I'm fighting all my life? I may as well zip it.
Yeah, when you're up here, you tell it your way. But anyway, this is we think, famous green skip. It's just a pun, though. You know, that we probably got it from Herman Johnson's or something. But anyway, we had it for years. And for 4 or 5 years, it was the only boat we got around in. It was this old thing, Deanie. You know, you use it for work. That's how we got around. It's that damn old green skip. And there's behind it, you can't see a Carl with his hard-earned money, bought a 10-horse engine. And that's what we had on it, was that 10-horse. Now, the picture that I showed you earlier was a 5-horse. Another whole story about that. But this has a 2-horse line. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we're in East Bay now. And I want you to point out when there's, Carl is there working. Here's Carl is here, Sharon is here, I'm here, cousin David, cousin Philip, and cousin Harold. You can't see it, but he's in there. And this boat that Philip is standing in is a boat that Carl and I built. Here, how old is Carl? You're
12 to 13.
Yeah.
And the boat was built a year or two before that.
I'm 2 years, 9 months younger than Carl. But we built this little boat, and our dad let us do whatever, in the day, you probably ran off into the woods while we ran off into the lake. But anyway, it was a different, in the title of the thing, it was different back then. And it really was different back then. Okay, moving on.
Is that the book, the children's book is written about?
No,
Yes.
no, the little, the small boat.
The story is,
Go back to
the whole book is different, but it's basically written about that.
Oh, okay.
That little boat.
Yeah,
Cool.
what is it?
On Sand Island.
That's it.
Yeah. The whole story is made up. It revolves around our dad, but it was really Carl that wrote the book.
Also, the writer of the book came from
By the way,
Bayfield.
I've been lied to my whole damn life. Go ahead.
With that, yeah, I did let him hold the nail can while we were building the book. In any case, it's the size it was because that's the length of board that we could find. We didn't pick, let's make a 14-foot boat. We got some boards and built it to whatever the size that was.
Maybe 10 foot 3 inches or something.
And then the arts residents with the Park Service was talking to me when they threw Sue Macbeth, who got us together. And she said, well, what did you do on Santa Island? I said, well, for one thing, we built a boat. Just so she won't tell you about it. Well, we went through that whole process of telling her how we built this boat. which is over on the beach by Bose, which he showed earlier. But she then came up and we built the boat in the driveway of Sharon's house here, again with her, with the same tools. We still had Bird Hill's old saws and all these old people's old tools, nothing but hand tools. And we sat and built one about, she stood there with me, took pictures during the whole time it was being built, which took 2 or 3 days. It was like a weekend, because at that time I was 30 or whatever, which is, we're doing that. So we built the whole boat, about the size so we could fit in her, the back of the RV type of vehicle. The trunk, anyway, it was about 5 feet long and 3 feet wide and so deep, but it was pretty much the exact replica. And I told her as we went along what we did, how we, the nails, how we did the whole job. But to think you could build the boat off of boards similar to what's on the shed, look how wide some of the boards were in the day. But we got all that stuff off somebody's cow shed or whatever, and then just toted it down to where we wanted to build something. But whose family is going to let a 13-year-old and a 9 and 10 build a dock house on their dock? I mean, you think the parents would say, no, I mean, you kids aren't going to do a very good job. If you can see, if you go back to the green skip, how beats me, but we're just able to do it. There's the place there. So that's where the book then on San Island came from. And she has that little boat down at her house, wherever she lives this way.
I realize that a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Now you've got a picture and 1,000 words.
There's a lot more where that came from.
We'll never get to Shaw Point. Okay, we started interacting with Shaw Point people pretty early on. But here is me at the height. Carl, Harold, our cousin Harold, Sharon, and Beth Matson. Beth Matson was actually a friend of our older sister, Connie, and she came over a lot. And toward in the next couple of years, Mary used to come with her a lot. Mary and Beth came over to East Bay a lot. Beth stayed over some. I don't think Mary did. I don't know. Stayed over with us. But and she has, and I talked to her into donating to the BHA. I think it's 98 photos from this time. This is one of her photos. I'm assuming that our sister Connie took the picture.
Also, if anybody's from Madeline, that's Hugh Madsen's sister. If anybody knows Matt, old Hughie's, that'd be 90-something, lives over on the island. So.
We got to move along here.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is waiting for the Apostle Islands. And there's a reason why I have this picture. This is Gert Willish. And Sharon, I think, is here. That's me, and that's Carl. And then there's other minor players in there also. But we're waiting for the Apostle Islands, and who would come over virtually twice a week. The Apostle Islands, for those who don't know, they picked up the fish. Our father was a fisherman, as was your father, and Bobby's father, and Dean's. Your father wasn't much of a fisherman.
No, he worked a little bit of Hermie Johnson and Albus Wolf.
Yeah. But, that was the industry here. But this is 1949. The Admiral, which is this boat right here, was built in Egg Harbor, New Jersey in 1948. And it still is out there now on the island.
Rebuilt by Alex.
Yeah.
It's out there.
That's all. I'm not trying to shoot you.
It's
You
out
probably
there.
have seen those a lot. But anyway, that's the Higgerson there, the boat that's out here in the Admiral. And this, I've always been told that this is John Shaw's rowboat, by the way. It was in East Bay for years. And they say, well, why do you let it sink? Why do you let a boat sink?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Why do you let a boat sink?
Why did he let the boat sink?
Yeah.
I can't tell you that, sir.
Well, I can tell you.
Don't
That's why you're
use
here.
sunny water, sir.
You let a boat sink, they're made of wood, and you would even put rocks in them to sink down, so the boards would swell up and it would become watertight. So we did it with the green skiff, we did it with the little white skiff. We would sink it at the beginning of the year, maybe a week, You take the rocks out, you take the water out, and it's watertight for the summer. But that's why it's not neglect, it's on purpose. But anyway, so the point people were coming over in 1949, you know, because the boat was built in 48. And that, I think it's Sharon, it's probably my mother. But, okay, here's the Apostle Islands coming in, and who's there waiting? 2 point people. Mari Madsen, and who? Mary Rice, right there. She was probably 12, 13. Yeah. But that's the old Apostle Islands, which is now the Hiawatha, running in northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota. Doesn't go to Isle Royal or something? Something like that. I think they renamed it Hiawatha. Okay, this is a picture. This is over at Shaw Point. We're all pretty young. I'll point out the people that I know. I don't people I won't point out. That's Carl in a Cub Scout uniform. There's relatives there. But that's Sharon. That's Mary. That's Martha. And that's me. So we were getting together even before we were teenagers.
Is that Phil with the camera?
That is Palm.
Oh.
Richard.
Palm.
Oh,
A cousin.
I always take the picture.
A cousin. I mean, I'm telling you, East Bay was inbred. Could have been inbred. Because that's a relative, that's a relative, that's our mother, relative. That was, that's Betty. That's your grandmother. Bill probably took the picture. He had big cameras back then, so he probably took the picture. Okay, we gotta get moving. I thought this was gonna take 45 minutes. When Carl keeps talking. And this is another one of these, in this picture we've shown before, of us getting together. Mary.
No, that's Martha.
That's Mary.
That's Martha.
Trust me.
Okay.
Is your name Sharon? It's only your mother. But, well, look at the age. Here's Connie, Beth, Mary, Melly Wallen. I don't even know if anybody in you knows him. He's kind of Jimmy Edwards, Melly, and us were semi-related the same way. Sharon, Carl, that little towhead is me, and that's our mother. And when we did this last time, Carl pointed out, what did you point out when we did this last time?
I pointed out that note that there are no life jackets anywhere in view. And it's like a 5-6 foot drop off the side of that boat. And we're heading for Devil's Island. That's what we're making a 10-mile ride. And just to point out the way things were at that time. We never had a life jacket in that green skiff that we rode in. And all these kids, and also I pointed out, apparently there were no hyperactive kids because they probably would have been over the side. We would sit there, it was about an hour ride.
Yeah.
These kids have to sit pretty much right where they are for that whole trip.
Where were you going?
Devils from Santa just south of Vancouver. Nice to see the palm tree and pick berries and have a picnic on the rock.
We sat on a lot of seagull poop.
Yeah.
That was full of seagull poop.
It was just hand lotion, that's all. Okay, now I did this one, and this is strange because even Carl said it, said what's that in there for? You know, because he actually reviewed it this time. But Betty Hewling she was really good to her daughter and us kids around. We would get invited over, and this was one of her famous wiener trees. You see, she knows it. Those are wieners that are tied on that tree, and you can rest her in leaves. There's one there, a couple there, one there. She would tie wieners to it, so you go over there for a marshmallow roast or whatever, go up to the tree and untie a wiener. And that was Betty, right? Would do that.
Mary like that too.
And you Mary, I was going to say that Mary picked up on a lot of that stuff too. When we talked to, where'd she go?
I'm back
Did
here.
you leave? Oh, yeah, when we'll talk about some of what Mary did. But, okay, here's our dilemma. Here's 5 of us, and they're all male.
Chauvinist.
It's the first time I've ever touched this machinery. Carl, our cousin Paul, our cousin Harold, me, and our cousin David. 2 things, all males, all cousins. You know, we're in East Bay.
Yeah.
And Harold and David had 3 younger brothers, all males. What is that, 5, 6, 7, 8? Well then, way over here is off the thing. The West Bayans, by 1956, we said, oh good, you know, maybe there'll be some females with them. 2 sons. So we had 12 males, 8 of them related, 2 were also males, and we said, gosh, what can we do about that? You know, it was tough. So this is a connection. Here's the East Bay Road again. This is when we were teenagers. Carl and I moved in it, but you know, this is the trail that we'd walk along every day. Now, what I've done is gotten pictures of many of the backs of the houses. This is what you would see from the road. You know, most things you see from the lakeside. This is what you see from the road. This is our house. This is where we live. Carl and Fred and I, over the years, stayed upstairs. Mom and Dad here, Sharon had here, and Connie had here. But that's the back of it, and that's what you see from the East Bay Road. This one right here is the Dahl house from the back, his kitchen. Go through these really fast. This is the schoolhouse you would see. And I don't know of anybody other than, I don't know, you probably didn't even see the schoolhouse. But that's the schoolhouse that closed in 1928. I did have a picture of the back of the Palm House, but this isn't our relative. It was horrible. And then this is the Lawfield house. We talked about the piano. This is the house that it was in. And this is Gert Wellish's house, and I'll get back to this at the end because we're trying to reconstruct it. This is Gert Wellish's house. Okay, then we kind of go into the woods. We're leaving East Bay, and we're walking along the woods, and the grass is on the side, and you go about a half a mile, and you would run into ferns, and you say, and it would scare the hell out of you. Why would it scare the hell out of you? That was right alongside the road, right where the ferns were. When you hit the ferns, that's where the old Will Palm House was. And at night, if the moon was out, you walked real fast. I mean, it was scary. It was scary in the daylight, but at night it was awful, especially. No side conversation.
What's this one? No.
This might be far oops. And what was there when we got there? Girls. This is Mary. Baby. Janice Wick. Judy Judkins and Janice Wick. These were friends of Mary. One thing I love about Mary, she brought her classmates out from school. She and Carl are virtually the same age. They graduated in 58.
I think it was more like 78.
No, you were 78.
Yeah.
But here, all these boys we were raised with, we go down to the pub. We didn't go down to the work or any of that kind of stuff. This is why we went down there. But this is the bay down in Shaw Point. This is a Hewins dock, Rice's dock. We always call it Hewins, of course. There's the Admiral. This is Anderson's dock. And this was this little bay here, just a little tiny beach. But I didn't so much because I was always working. But Carl and Sharon would meet with the kids down here on the beach and play while I was working. You're laughing too Janice and
Buzzy Avery.
Buzzy Avery. But they both had cameras. Nowadays, everybody has a camera. You get movies, and we have one grandchild, and there's probably 18,998 pictures, you know, on the internet, FaceTime, all that stuff. Well, this, you know, and amazingly enough, this is what Carl's wife does, she takes film pictures. You have to take them into Walmart, wait 2 weeks and get them back. And then you didn't know what you were going to get. So it's just amazing that we have anything that is worth a damn.
Those cameras took 12 pictures, basically. So you weren't just firing off all the time, you know, they were real choosy about where they took the picture. So it's amazing that we have so many pictures.
We have thousands of pictures, literally. Okay, this is actually, I did this because we were making fun of this guy here a few years before he died. Because here's Connie. She was like a damn bee to honey. These boys at the Shaw Point, they would just kind of hover around her. And she was the flower, and these were the bees. And that's Tom Yance, Peter Yance, and Stout? Strand, and the Strand. Friends of Mary's. Here's Connie again, Tommy, and I don't know these two boys, that looks like a Strand too, but they're from Bayfield, Minnesota, where they came from. But this is the teenage years. This is what was going on. Okay, not every year, but sometime in your life, and I don't know if you still do this on the island, you would get thrown in the water with your clothes on. Shoes, socks, everything. Well, for some reason, Mary and Carl got thrown in at the same time. You got a story about this, Carl?
Well, yes.
Want this?
In those days, you know, when you talk about girls, one of the early things you learn is, if you're interested in one, you have to get her attention first. You know, because it was like in this crowd who's, you know, thinking of any particular guy. So at 15 years old, I thought it was probably a good idea to push anyone that I kind of had feelings for, fully clothed, 4 feet off the dock into Icy Lake Superior. See how that worked. So that's why when you see the girls and boys like that, and which one of us pushed the other one in first, I don't really know, but it looks like we're both soaking wet there, so this happened very quickly. And usually when you get pushed in the lake, you're standing sort of towards the edge, and people are watching. This happens at parties, where everybody's ready to party, they're having fun, and they're just getting ready to spin the bottle, that kind of thing. So another thing is, if you push somebody in the lake, it was somebody you liked. If you push somebody in the lake you didn't like, that would just be mean, you know. So, as you came along, if you're walking close to the edge, you wanted to push someone so you didn't want to fight or wrestle someone off the dock. That just didn't look good, and that wouldn't be right. So when somebody's standing right close to the edge, you get a little shove in behind, and they're gone. But I think in this instance, it was one or the other of us grabbed the other person, so we both went in, you know. Well, Bob later on told me he thought it would get you a lot further if you were the person that pulled these girls out of the water.
That's all the difference.
And of course, I didn't hear this till last year. It was way too late.
Moving right along. This is just the Point kids. These are people that lived at the Point. Peter, Mary. I don't know if he was a helper or a friend. Tom, and maybe. That's why I say if you want the he and if you want the he her, you know, if you want the, God, I can never say it right. She her. You have to talk to her or to her. But we swam an awful lot. That was, I guess, just a way to get their clothes off. But I shouldn't have said that. But I apologize. Why am I not moving? Tony?
You've been censored.
Shouldn't have.
You can press the space bar.
Is the space bar do it? Yeah. Well, as Carl mentioned, we played spin the bottle probably more than we should have. But we were young, you know. And here is me kissing her. And her husband is here too.
Not fair.
For anybody here that doesn't know what spin the bottle is,
And I got so flustered by it, I got thrown in. Actually, at a different time. But here you can see, this happened to everybody. Sharon, me, I don't know if you still do that. Do you out there now? Yeah. But it was almost like a tradition. But it wasn't the old folks didn't do it, except Carl tells about throwing big Phoebe. There's 3 Phoebes on. You talk about 3 dolls in East Bay. There were 3 Phoebes out of 12 people at the Shaw Point. There was Big Phoebe, Aunt Phoebe, Middle Phoebe, and your sister, Little Phoebe. But
what's called Jonesy, I think, because too many Phoebes, you know. So,
but anyway, but you can see totally fully dressed, you know, you get thrown in the water. But it was refreshing. And they're kissing Middle Phoebe.
They're cool off.
Yeah. Logan back there saying, damn, I never experienced that. That's what okay. We did a lot of water skiing and stuff, which was a lot of fun. But the reason I put this in here is, well, some of the people, I think that might be Little Warren. That's Judy Moe, who's local. Tom Lindell, Mickey Moe. But Mickey Moe wasn't out, he was just visiting. He had worked at Hewley, but this is long after he was gone. He was just out there. And who's over here working? More. There will be more. But this is probably 1861, something like that for me. Okay, here you have sailing. This is what the kids did over there at the point. This is your father. Here, John Rice, water skiing. We did, then Carl was in the Navy at the time, but we did a lot of water skiing. I don't even water ski out there anymore. Ollie can't run a boat, so you gotta get something. Maybe Carl ought to run the boat so you can water ski. And at the end of the year, all that was left in Shaw Point, at Shaw Point, was F.C. Anderson. His wife took the picture, but there's Sharon, me, Mary, Betty, Davy Jones, and Martha. Now, did romances develop? Sure. And when I say an item, I don't mean like today. Item, you know, we held hands. You know. But Davy and Sharon held hands, and Martha and I held hands. But here is the Admiral, and the Henry Dahl boat, they called it the Driftwood, is there. This is all at Sand Bay. But this is Mary water skiing. Those of you who knew Mary in the last couple of years, she was somewhat decrepit and you know, she had physical problems. But here she is, you know, looking like she's at Winter Gardens, you know, water skiing. It's just a beautiful picture. Sand Bay in the background. But I just like that picture because it's so different than how we knew her in later years. Here's another one of all of these kids playing on the beach. Where is Bob? Over here working. be there, and that's Mrs. Anderson. We were dyeing rugs down on the beach. But actually, to be honest, which I'm not that honest, but that's me right there. So I played a little bit. But there's little Warren. A lot of people knew Warren. There's Warren as a little kid. What was the name of their bone?
Nautilus.
Okay, we got it. Okay, this is just, I did this as kind of a memorial to these three and Marlene. This is Tom, Warren, and Peter. They died in the last 5-6 years in reverse order. Warren first, Tom second, and Peter last. And Peter was the oldest. And his wife just died like about a month ago. Okay, the adults did things too. Here they are, all out at the end. I think that's Ernie Madsen. But this picture was actually taken by someone on this boat on that day. So I got that as I think we've allowed them to do things too. But here's the lighthouse, and the lighthouse is important because every year, at the end of the year, and we'll credit Mary for this, we would spend a weekend in the lighthouse because people rented it for 5-10 years. I don't know how long it was. But and we would all, there would be kids from Stillwater and Bayfield and us from the island. And I remember just sleeping up there in the tower one time. But it was a lot. We had a lot of fun as youngsters out there. Okay, this one here, I searched through 2,000 photos to find one of Carl working. And this is the best I could do. It's here, sitting on a stump, doing nothing. And what am I doing? I'm over here fixing the damn engine in the admiral. And that's Peter and Judy Moe, and I think that's you, Phoebe, I'm not sure. But Carl's sitting on a stump. What do you got to say about that?
Well, this. He's missing this picture on so many levels. So many levels. He completely ignores all the thought that goes into a job before it's done, all the planning. I'm doing plenty of that in that picture. Plus, one of the cardinal rules of when you're not going to do any work is always be carrying something that you could use if you had work. And this is a pump from taking the oil out of a boat motor through the dipstick hole because you can't get under the motor to, get. So what you want to do is always have something like that in your hands. It could be a shovel, a pick, any kind of a tool, wherever you go, and walk around briskly when you're going somewhere. You have something to walk. And you have to think, well, yeah, the boat oil could be changed, but it could be changed next week. It could be changed at any time. And I don't really see a very good reason for doing it at that particular time, I can see. So I will give you that. But yeah, for those of you who don't do anything as a job, just remember, always carry some type of implement that makes it at least appear that you're doing something. Did I ever give you this? And we've got another picture that shows him with that he's supposed to be working. I think he was just holding a saw there while that picture was taken. That's all I have.
I don't know if I should. I will. What the heck, you're adults. There's an old adage that females are always looking for a reason to mess around, and guys are only looking for a place. Well, this is a lookout. It goes back 100 years. And on occasion, those two philosophies met. in the lookout. It's actually a beautiful little cabin. Gosh, it's this big, this small. But anyway, that's the lookout. And the trail went right behind it. But at night, people were walking around on those trails. I mean, there were stumps and cliffs, and in fact, I wasn't going to mention this, but seeing Carl got kind of smarty pants. Right here is the tractor
Yeah.
that he and Jan Horick dumped over this bank onto the beach. Got a story about that?
There's a fireball cub, and I was hauling sand off the beach by hand, filling a full-size trailer every night after work, just as something to do before the dinner. And then when we take it up and go down the road, we dump it out along the side of the road to fill muddy spots and whatnot. But we filled all those, and the whole beach was 3 feet of sand. It had been drag line scooped up there, and I was hand shoveling it all the way. And that summer I did it, literally moved that entire pile, spadeful by spadeful. But anyway, we filled the trailer, and after we ran out of spot, we went, let's just back over the bank and dump it over the bank right there. Well, the wheels, the trailer wheels crumbled the bank, and it started pulling the whole tractor. I mean, I got off of there, that's a 30-foot drop onto rocks and so on. And Horak, the young guy that was working with me, he's trying to grab this, he's reaching out, and I'm leaping off the thing and bang, over it goes. And there it sits, broke the whole frame, the casting, you couldn't just, when it was all, you could repurchase it, and it was all the parts were bought. It stayed right on the beach until the parts came, was put together there, and then drove along the beach on the rocks to get it out of there. But, yeah, I don't think that was my fault.
And once again, I'm working. Okay, let's go on. My life wasn't all bad out there, but the Yenches, I wanted to explain a little bit. The Yenches had a self-contained unit. They had a house that they all lived in the same house. Now they have a little bit, but at the time, it was called the Yench Cottage, and there were 4 or 5 bedrooms in it, plus the upstairs and this kind of thing. They had a self-contained. The Hewlings, here's the bay here in front of me. Yenches, Anderson, but the Hewlings had multiple buildings and a lot of guests. They had a lot of guests out there over the years. There were young girls, old people, whatever. I mean, they would show up at midnight, on a Friday night to come out. Well, I was over entertaining the old folks at Anderson's. But we ate with them. It was funny. And we lived there. We ate with the Hewlings, we ate with the Andersons, and we were basically the hired help that we thought of ourselves as. More than that, but they might not have. But that's Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Anderson, me, and 3 of their guests. But it was a good one. And then and they always had their big meal at lunch. They'd have standing rib roasts or fancy stuff like that. You know what it was, but it sure tastes good. These days, we hardly ate that kind of stuff. We had fish and potatoes, but it was a good life, believe me.
And remember this, that was during Bob's work day. From 11 to what, 1:30 or something like that. That was prior to getting the mail. Should I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, then after this lunch, 2-hour lunch, he then every day went down to the Admiral, got in the boat, and said he was going over to get the mail. Well, meanwhile, I'm working down to Hewlings, sweating up the storm and whatnot. And he says he's going for mail, and I say he was going on a 2-hour break. Nice boat ride. So half of his day was 2-hour lunch or dinner and 2-hour mail run. And then what really added insult to injury is the boat would come back, the Admiral would come back from Sand Bay and come in towards the tip of the Hewlings dock, and I'd walk out there to see what was going on, and he'd say, here's your mail, so you don't have to make a trip. So there I'm sitting, the boat's at the dock, never moves week on end, and every single day he's getting a 2-hour, you go over, you go slow, you get the mail, you go slowly back. And anyway, I'm sorry, Bob, but that's just the way it was.
This is going to Devil's Island again. And I have this in here, that's Carl, that's me. I was in charge. He was just a passenger. This is Christy Anderson. Christy Anderson. We got Christina?
Oh, Christine.
Christine Anderson. I think that's who it was. It's one of the, it'd be your cousin, your first cousin. They didn't come out there often, but she was out there, and I just put that in there because she was a female.
That's Fred and Kitty, right?
Yeah, that's Fred and Kitty Anderson. But it's a nice picture because that's the only one I have of any of the 3 girls is this one. Okay, when we got older, and I'm talking about the college years, Sand Island was no Island Billy Elegy. It was well-educated people. I mean, East Bay, which is more of a working class outfit, but we probably had 50% of the people there were college graduates. At the point, other than Fred Anderson, did Daisy go to college?
Yes.
Okay, so it was only Fred Anderson was the only one over at the point who wasn't a college graduate, didn't just go to college. We had 2 Harvard graduates, Sam and Ellen Westage, went to Harvard. Not just went. I mean, I went to school. They graduated. Well, I graduated too, but not from Harvard. Did apply there, but they didn't accept me. But anyway, it was very well educated in Iowa. And part of that has to do with the Savona. In the later years, I would say maybe late college years for Mary, early college years for me. I lived in the Savona for 5 years. Anybody not know what the Savona is? Yeah, it's a boat that sank in 1905. And they made this cottage from the hatches from it. And it was called the Savona Memorial Cottage. You can see the name thing from it, broken off. 7 people died in that one, and 6 at that. I wrote a story called The 12 Apostles. It was 6 and 7, one on Outer Island.
Right.
There were 6 on Sand Island. Anyway,
And there were 10 men on the boat. Outer 5 survived, 5 drowned.
Yeah.
And 7 men were lost.
So that's where the 12. That's where the 12 apostles come from. At least that was the name of the story. I think it was the Green River Beach. I don't know what they called it. What? Anyway, we would sit up there and have really interesting conversations because all of these people were so damn educated. We'd drink Budweiser beer because we were old enough at the time. We'd play music and we'd talk about heavy subjects like Camus, Kierkegaard, Joyce. And I have a story about Martha, your aunt, where I was down in the beach house with her and she was reading a book. And I said, Martha, what are you reading? She said, I'm reading Ulysses by James Joyce. And I said, oh, that's interesting. She said, what are you reading? And I wanted to tell her I was reading The Stranger by Camus, but actually at the time I was reading Lady Chatterley's Lover. It wasn't classic. This is what we call the Sand Island Farm Club. These were right here, that girl right there is her, Christy, and Phoebe is not here. She not here? She lives here in town. But then Phoebe, Yinch, they were a younger crowd. You're probably 5 years younger than I am, something like that. And she's the older of the 2. But they were that cute girls. But, damn, just,
I used to tell Bob, treat them nicely, they get older.
We missed all the parties though. I think.
you missed all of this stuff. And this is the point in East Bay, this is later years, this is 1971, and I must have been preaching because I'm sitting, and Fred Anderson is sitting, and Betty, in these church photos when they took them, whoever was talking that day would sit in the other people would stand. But there's a good mixture of East Bay, late East Bay. For example, West Bay, Cole, that's my wife, Sharon, and so forth. So we still, even when we were grown adults, we still got together with the Shop Point people.
So that's not a poem? I always thought that was a poem.
Who?
Yeah.
No, that's Jack Noel.
Well, these people are now gone. All of that.
No. Okay.
I know.
I mentioned earlier, when I say 2 miles, this is from Norring Farm down to here, up to there, and down to here. That was the road that you could drive a car on. Why they had any cars, I don't know. But we had 4 or 5 cars, and the Norring made a car into a truck. And so there were 5 vehicles on the island. And then sort of, because you couldn't use them for farming and that kind of thing, all you could do is, ride around. Okay, this is what it looked like. This is the same photo as the one of all these people. The point. This is what it looks like now. Go back. Over there. Back. West Bay Trail is gone. All of this is gone. All of this is gone. This is gone. All of these houses in here are gone. All of this is gone. The schoolhouse is gone. So it really became a blank. But it's still a beautiful place, but it's not like it was. Okay, and then we're working, this is Gert Willish's house. This is a little advertising. The IHBC has raised funds to redo this house, which is on the south side of the bay. And on the north, the Park Service is redoing this house. This is our grandmother and grandfather's house. Front view, back view. This is the West Bay Lodge. It's still standing. But just to reiterate, down here, this is still all, virtually everything that was there 100 years ago is there now, because the people who live there have preserved it.
Do you have a store on the island?
Yeah, two stores. I wrote a story about one. The Lockdales had a store, and Bayfield had a store. Just you could get mantles for chimney lamps and that kind of a thing. Maybe kerosene, and just simple things, nothing complicated. And this is a different photo. This is the last photo, by the way. Hold your applause. Is the Wicks girl, the Duncan's girl. That's probably here on the little part of the shelf. This is Dahl, and it's hillbilly hat. That's me. That's Sharon, and I'm pretty sure that. Well, it is Mary. It's on the thing. That's Mary. But we miss those days. But progress, things move on. But it was fun. Thank you.